The As Is podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The As Is podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the As Is podcast. Tonight's guest is the prestigious Wayne Williams. Wayne, you there?
I am here.
Thank you, man, for being on this podcast. Let me start off by telling the people exactly who you are and what you've done. And correct me if I'm wrong. One of the most prestigious things that I've read that you've done was you won a Grammy in 2014. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, which Grammy are you speaking of?
Oh.
I mean, and the reason I say that is because I'm an A&R, right?
Okay.
And so it's not a personal Grammy, but whenever you as a A&R work on a project, from beginning to end, and that your artist gets a Grammy, then you're considered to have won a Grammy,
Okay.
but not a, because obviously, I write and produce too, but I've been nominated for a Grammy.
Okay.
But I didn't win one where I actually wrote and, I actually was part of the production. You feel me?
Okay. Well, some of the artists that you've worked with have been Jennifer Hudson, Aretha Franklin, Justin Timberlake, Brittany Spears, Aaliyah, Mystical, Joe, Raheem Devon, and of course, R.Kelly. Tell me what that's like working with those type of artists.
Wow. I mean, they were all great artists, and obviously in their own right, legendary artists. I think that very talented artists, and so each one obviously is different working with. I think that that's a wide range really of music as well. You go from Aretha Franklin to Joe to Jennifer Hudson, or Jennifer Hudson to Justin Timberlake, or Justin Timberlake to R. Kelly. So it's, you're dealing with different personalities when it comes to when it comes to the music. And so, to me, working in the studio, seeing their greatness and how they work was, very fulfilling for me. It actually taught me a whole lot as well.
Okay. Tell me one of the things that it taught you.
Oh wow. Well, okay, give you the key. With R. Kelly, it was his songwriting skills, right? I mean, he's a master songwriter, and so I probably learned a lot about songwriting from R. Kelly. Justin Timberlake, working with Justin Timberlake, just how much he was into music and how it affected him, as well as he's very for an artist of his level, very humble to the music as well. Aretha Franklin, that was my mom's favorite artist, and so there was nothing she could do, that was wrong to me,
Right.
and I found her to be amazing personality wise, real down to earth though. She got that Detroit in her, and I love that. And we got along so good, I have to thank Clive Davis for even hooking me up with her,
Wow.
and
That's a big
so that
name.
was an amazing experience. Oh yeah, definitely.
What,
And that
what
was my first time working with Clive Davis.
what is that like working with Clive Davis?
Oh, Clive, he's a genius in himself, an amazing man. Has done a lot of amazing things in the music industry. I've always looked up to him from afar for the most part. Aretha Franklin kind of brought us, that project brought us together to work firsthand, and he's very detailed, very he's he's got crazy work ethic, and he's what's the word? He's just very on top of it and detailed. I mean, every little thing. He's a perfectionist, and I love that because I feel I'm a perfectionist as well. So that part, I, you know, was amazing. And then he actually asked me to interview him and Aretha, and it was the most amazing thing because you know, I'm known as DJ Wayne Williams, right? I'm like,
Right.
well, Clive, when he asked me, I said, Clive, I'm not that kind of DJ, bro. I'm a club DJ. I be DJing parties for real, like,
Right.
And he's like, I'm not a radio broadcaster, and he's like, well, you will be today. I was like, damn, and because Aretha wants you, she wants you to do it. She just doesn't, trust a lot of people, and she wants you to do the interview. I'm like, what? Well, I couldn't believe it. Then I said, ain't nothing but God. That's all it is, because that's my mama's favorite artist. She had passed years ago. I said, I know exactly what this is. My mama wants me to do this. So I agreed to do it. But so that was an amazing thing as well.
You know what? Those names are so heavy that it's crazy. So before I go any further, one of the key names you named, I want to get into a couple of other things, but let me first start off by being fair. And a fair question is to tell us exactly how you started in the music game.
I started as a DJ, and then I went from DJing to making records. My stepbrother is known for doing the very first house record, which is On and On, and then my record was second, which was a song called Undercover. And so, and then we put these records out, which is known to be at the very first house music label, which is Trax Records. And I was the first E&R at Trax Records, which was the first house music label. And so I was picking a lot of the hits that came out of there, and that's how Jive Records found me. And they came over and they wanted me to work for them and sign dance music artists to their label early on.
What is it like working for Jive, or what was it like?
Jive, I worked with the owner. He was amazing. His name was Clive Calder, and he was amazing, brilliant man. And and then the guy who headed the label for him, GM, his name was Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, and Barry was. We had a great relationship. Interesting because they caught me when they hired me. I must say at that point in time I was still kind of naive to the music business, and I was kind of raw as a kid. I mean, I started out in the projects in Chicago, a project called Ida B. Wells, and then we moved and all over the South Side of Chicago, and so you know I didn't necessarily have label etiquette
Right.
when it came to early on, right? And so me and Barry had a very real relationship when it came to that. Like he would, you know, if he got upset with me, he was like would scream at me and holler at me, and so he wasn't used to, in that industry, people kowtow to their bosses and stuff like that. Well, see, I wasn't used to that, so I would snap back at his ass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so we would be going. And he was, but he actually liked it because he saw the passion and fire in me. Like I wasn't taking that shit. Who you talking to like that, man?
Right.
So very we had a very great relationship because it was a no bullshit relationship, and because of that, I mean, I stayed there. I worked at Jive Records until it folded into RCA for 28 years.
Wow.
And so who would have thought that?
Wow.
But it was completely based on because people know me. I'm very transparent. I'm painfully honest. And so um, and that's how they knew me. Like they knew I would never, tell them I liked the record and I actually didn't like the record. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And there's so many times I told them that the record sucked,
Right.
sucked to me, and but they just say, "Oh, that's just how he is," So we had a great relationship.
You know, it's funny you say that because some people, I think I'm like that to an extent. I think some people
Hmm.
can't really deal with honesty. When you're blatantly
Yeah,
honest, a lot of people can't accept that. It's like people want you to lie. But let me move on to this. So now you are, or you were, senior vice president of A&R at RCA, correct?
yeah,
Okay. One of your accolades is helping the comeback of the Gap Band's frontman, Charlie Wilson. Tell us about that.
yes. Well, R. Kelly, who I signed, he was a big
Wait, wait, wait,
one.
wait, wait, wait. I don't want to interrupt you. I want to let you get everything out. But when you say certain things, it's just going to catch my attention immediately. Let me just make sure I heard you correctly. You signed R. Kelly.
Yeah, I signed R. Kelly.
Wow. Okay, let's get into
Yeah.
Charlie before we go there.
Um. So yeah, so he was a big Ron Isley fan, and so one time, I had moved out of Chicago to New York, and I would come back. I would come back and forth to Chicago, and whenever Robert was doing an album and working in the studio, and so we were talking in the studio, and he said, "Who's your favorite artist?" And I was like, "I'm a Charlie Wilson guy. I'm a Gapper. I'm a Gap Band dude."
Right.
And he's like, "So if I work with if I work with Charlie Wilson, you'll get him signed to Jive?" I said, "Absolutely." You know, and so so eventually Robert met up with Charlie and was like, "Hey, let's do a song together." And so they started working on the song. So I went to my boss Barry. I said, "Hey, I want to sign Charlie Wilson." Now, mind you, he had an album recently that was out as a solo artist on Universal, but it didn't do anything.
Okay.
And so, and he's older guy, right? And
Right.
so Barry was like, "Man, why you see? Are you crazy? Why would you want to sign this old?" I said, "Bro, he's just not no old dude, right?" I said, "He can sing, number one, and number two, young people still love him." I'm like, "Man, Snoop Dogg love him, for real. All these guys love Justin Timberlake. All these acts love Charlie Wilson." I said, "So he's not your average like old dude.
Right.
And Barry, he still, wasn't sure, and he said, "Well, listen, if you bring me a hit, okay, then we'll sign him, right?"
Okay.
And I don't know what he was thinking, but I said okay, and I knew that Robert was about to work with him, and R. Kelly was shit hot at that time, and so sure enough, the single they worked on was first name, Charlie,
That's my jam.
last name Wilson. And
Yeah.
so as soon as I heard it, I'm like, "Oh shit, this is a smash," right? So I knew I
Yeah.
was good. So I went back to the beat. I said, "I got you smashed." And so I played it. Everybody's like, "Whoa, that is a hot record."
Yeah.
And so he said, "Okay, well, we'll do a deal." And from that point on, I worked on his next 5 albums. Gave him 19 Grammy nominations, and
Wow.
I mean, you know, and I mean his career just took off as a solo artist, and the rest is history when it comes to that. Um, but so that's kind of how the Charlie thing happened.
But you know what? In between that, I had read some stuff, and I don't know if it's true or not. So correct me if it isn't. But it was an
Mhm.
underside to Charlie Wilson. He had battled a drug addiction.
Yeah. hmm And he was very humble and honest, early, about that, even very upfront about it. He had met a wonderful woman at, I think she worked in his rehab facility when he was going to rehab, and she really, got him on point and got him straight. And so, it's all about timing, man. That's God works in mysterious ways. It's all about timing. And so it was just perfect timing for when I brought him to Jive Records, and because he was on the right path, he was clean, and he was ready to move on from that life, that bad life he had in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. In all honesty, do record companies frown upon people who have addictions or dark sides?
Well, Jive Records was an independent label, and quite frankly, they were very different, and that's what made Jive Records so special. They they all they cared about was the outcome. Like, so they not Jive Records, I think that unless it obviously, got in the way of work or you doing your job or presentation wise. But if you no, it wasn't like they gave drug tests or anything like that. It was, they knew people. A lot of the early rappers were, from the street and from Schoolie D on, and the owner of Jive Records, Clyde Calder, um, he signed early on like South African artists like Hugh Masekela and Jonathan Butler, and so and quite frankly, musicians back in those days, they were known for like doing some kind of drugs or
Yeah,
whatever, getting high, whatever.
yeah.
And so now John didn't care really about that, honestly.
Let me ask you this: what is it like working with Jennifer Hudson?
Jennifer, we worked on that song "It's Your World," and uh, I mean, she's very passionate, uh, amazing voice, man. She's got such an amazing voice, and she's our homegirl from the Shy. She's from the
Right.
South Side Chicago, like me and Robert. And so, you know, um, um, it was great. It was great. And she's very passionate about her work as well. And I think that it's just good, especially someone from hometown that you work with, and especially when that was a really hot song. That was a great song. I did that with Terry Hunter. Me and him produced that joint, that record, and so it was and it was an original house record, as well, and I think, quite frankly, it should have been the first single. Jai dropped the ball on that because it should have been the first single. It ended up being the third single, but and it was better than the first two singles. I told them that too.
Right.
They were mad, but they probably thought I was biased because I co-produced it, but I wasn't. It was just it was just honest,
She's
and
she's
you know
definitely an amazing artist. Excuse me. Let me take you
yeah.
to a controversial artist that
Hmm.
America loved, Aaliyah.
Hmm.
Break that, like tell us about Aaliyah. Tell us about how she came up or what you had to do with her. Break that down for me.
Well, quite frankly, I didn't have much to do with Aaliyah because Aaliyah came through Robert's first manager, Barry Hankerson,
Okay.
which was her uncle, right?
Right.
And she was out of Detroit too. And so I really didn't have much to do with Aaliyah. That was strictly R. Kelly and Barry Hankerson and Aaliyah, So and that was an artist signed to their label as well,
Okay. What about
Yeah.
Britney Spears?
I worked with Brittany. I worked with Brittany with my boss at the time. His name was Jeff Finster, and we went down to Miami and worked with Scott Storch and Brittany. And Brittany was amazing. So this star just exuded from her, and so we went down to Miami with Scott Storch, who was super hot at that time, and that was again, you recognize her star appeal, and all you pretty much had to do was just give her great records, and she was on her way, and she was very, I didn't spend a lot of time with her, but the time I was down there, she was again another artist, very into her craft, very into her music.
How do you feel when you hear the news that you hear today as far as some of the legal things she's going through? What does that make you think?
You know what? It's funny. Like, unfortunately, you know, when I work with artists, it's strictly creative, and so some of those things you hear about later, and you're like, wow, that was going on, and it was kind of sad to hear those things, and it's kind of surprising,
Right.
but unfortunately, again. when you're in that creative space, it's strictly about the music and the song and the lyrics and the production and things like that.
Well, let's go back to uh, the man that you signed. Uh, how do I want to describe him? I'll just describe him as Robert Kelly. What was
Mm.
your relationship like with him?
Again, he was a creative genius, and I actually watched him grow as an artist, in the studio and seeing how he developed. I mean, he had such natural talent. I mean, this guy couldn't read or write, and to see how he just goes to the mic and come up with lyrics was like, wow. I mean, how did he do that? I hear Jay-Z does the same thing now,
Right.
and so it was and then just the other records that he gave other people, other artists, the other artists that he worked with as well, from Celine Dion to Tony Braxton to Mariah Carey to so many different artists that changing faces to so many different artists to that he worked with as well, and so he was just um, a really naturally talented, gifted artist.
Let me ask you this. Uh, I want to be careful as to how I ask or what I say. But if there's something that I ask that you feel is inappropriate and you can't answer, don't. Okay?
Mm.
All right.
Uh, I have no problems.
Well, let me.
Again, I'm very transparent. So
Okay, so well,
come on.
let
But I'm very transparent, but I'm very honest too.
yeah, listen,
But go ahead.
you on the right show, so let's get it in. All right,
What?
because you signed them, because you've been around them. Let me ask you this: with all the accusations going on around him, for example, the RICO charge with the people, and he's the only one standing up. And I'm just asking this question, so I will respect your honesty. How come you aren't involved with that?
With what?
As far as the RICO charge, I mean, because what the federal government has done is they've come in and they've lumped a bunch of people together. And actually, in all honesty, they haven't because he's been the only one. But you would
Mm.
imagine, or the average person would think, with you having a relationship so close and you signed him, that you might be a part of the alleged conspiracy. Why has that come up with you?
No, not at all. And I think that as a creative person, I mean, there are a lot of people obviously that worked with R. Kelly, other producers, songwriters, engineers, um, a lot of creative people that worked with R. Kelly, and from promotion people to video people to so I think that but it's a creative space. You're not involved in their personal life. No, most people at record companies aren't involved in people's personal life. When they go home. When after you do a video shoot or a studio session or engineer, that you go home to your family and in your personal life. Um, I hope that answers your question, but
It
that's
does. For
that.
me, it
You know.
does. I'm just, why? Because there's a lot of conspiracy theorists. There's a lot of
Hmm.
conspiracy things, and one of the conspiracies is that he pissed someone off, and it has to be the record label or someone from a record label that's come back to get him. What do you think about that?
Again, it's when you leave the studio, you go home to your family. You don't know who's pissed off or who's not pissed. You know what I'm saying? Like that's more of a personal thing. And I think that because you never know. Sometimes people piss off people don't even know they piss off people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Yeah. Dig it.
uh, but I think that as a ex- you know as a music executive, I think that you're there to do a job. Like the promotion person is there to do a job. They come in, they build a campaign for that promotion person. A&R person, same thing. Creatively, if you find songs for that artist, or you or you give them inspiration as far as direction or what the people, the kids are into now and listening to or whatever. Art, the art, your marketing people, your art people, they come in, they sit down with the artists, they draw, they give them art ideas or vision ideas when it comes to the direction of their album covers and things like that, or they take the direction from the artist about what they want to present to the public. But after that, they go home and they go to their family lives and things like that. You're not going home with the artist. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
You're
I
not
get it.
spending the night with them.
I get
So
it.
you go home. Yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But let me press you now. You said you're honest and you're going to be transparent. So let's just be
Mm-hmm.
real, okay? And I'm not making any kind of accusations. We're just talking as two individuals on a podcast. So even though everything that you said may be true, uh, I know you heard the whispers. I know you heard that there was a problem. How did you approach that problem? Whether you're the A&R, whether you're in the mailroom with a person that is as big as R. Kelly was and still is
Yeah,
for some people.
this this is so easy to answer this question,
So
right?
do it.
So uh, you hear rumors all your life. You hear rumors growing up in the hood. You hear rumors. This girl is, this girl is, is what's the word?
Promiscuous.
Freaky or some shit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Right.
Promiscuous or whatever. See, I grew up with a mother and a sister, right?
Okay.
And so uh, when it comes to women, or obviously I was taught to respect women and people, not just women but people. But because I grew up with a mother and a sister, when even with like some of my homeboys, man, that girl's a freak. Nigga, how you know she a freak? Like I would always challenge that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
come on. So I started doing rumors early on when I was a DJ, and I brought disco back to my peers. So I was immediately called names like gay and faggot and worse names, right?
Right.
And because at that time disco was associated with homosexuality, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, if I paid attention to rumors, bro, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and obviously, the more popular you are, guess what? The more rumors they're gonna be, right?
Right.
So, long time ago, I stopped paying attention to rumors. I can't do that. I'm too busy, focusing on my life and my work and things like that. So I didn't. I stopped that a long time ago. When it came to rumors or what people say or whispers or that sort of stuff.
Well, then let me flip that on you. Let me
Hmm.
ask you this question. You ignored the rumors, you ignored the hearsay. But do you think, in all fairness, had you listened to one of the rumors, that you could have prevented some of the things that R. Kelly is going through today?
Look again. You're not in people's bedrooms. You're not in. You don't. You're not spending the night. With them, and you are going ahead with your own life. It's kind of like, as you know, what's this cancel culture, whatever. I think that a lot of people have been found to have done horrific, done bad things, right? And
Right.
so, but those people, like, shit, think of the people who work with Jeffrey Epstein. You think those those people who who did the picture or worked in the film or worked in the studio. I mean, they don't know what he did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they weren't going home with that guy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
I get
it's
it.
just like your boss at work. Wherever you work, there may be somebody that is who you work with. Who you don't know what they doing after they go home, or
Right.
when you go after you go home, you have no idea what those people are doing.
Right.
So I mean that's kind of
I mean,
you know.
I get what you're saying, but that didn't answer the
Mhm.
question, Wayne. So don't get mad at
Well,
me.
well,
That didn't.
no, go ahead. I mean,
Let
that
me
didn't
get what
answer the question. I
let.
thought it did, but go ahead.
Okay, but let me hit you with the reason why. Because who I
Hmm.
work with is important. Like based on, I think you know me. You know my products. You know We know some of the same people. So I can't
Hmm.
afford to have. Let's just give an example. A rat running around with me. That would destroy my
Hmm.
business. That would
Right.
put a green light on my back. So when I hear that somebody is a rat, if they're in my
Hmm.
circle, I have to worry. So to keep me from worrying, what I do is I approach that person and get down to the bottom of you being a rat. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do my homework on you, and sooner than later, I will expose you. And I may have to expose you immediately simply because my life depends on what I've built. So if I'm running up on gangsters and I'm running up on people who have a no snitch policy, but yet my coworker is a snitch, that endangers the life of Shabazz. So when I ask you that, you may not agree with that philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just really how it is. So that's why I ask you. I'm not making an accusatory statement against you. I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
that if you listen to some of the things that were being said, would that have helped prevent some of the things that are going on now? Because what the way I'm taking it is basically,
Mm-hmm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying, you did your work, you go home. The artist goes home.
Mm-hmm.
So what that translates to me is that in the music business is really just business. As long as the artist produces and gives you a song, you don't give a damn about what happens to them. Is that fair?
Well, no, no, well, no, that's not fair. But
Okay.
I mean, it's like this. First of all, you know, for the most part, I lived in a different city than the artist. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Got it.
So I don't know what's going on in Chicago if I'm living in New York. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, let's be fair here, right?
Okay.
So and then I moved from New York to L.A. I hadn't lived in we were talking about earlier. I told you I hadn't lived in Chicago in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So who knows? And then you know, are those people? You know, even are those people? When you say you hear whispers, you know what I'm saying? It's like, are those people
Credible.
giving you concrete, coming up to you, giving you concrete evidence? No, no, but that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I think that I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard rumors about people. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you can't, you know, is this person straight? Is this person gay? Is this guy a womanizer? Is this girl a hoe? I mean, come on, bro. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I get
It's
it.
like, so now obviously, if let's say if I saw someone like, slap the shit out of somebody, you know what I'm saying? Okay,
Right.
now I can say something, you know what I'm saying? But man, this dude slapped shit out of somebody. Oh, really? I mean, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I got it.
So come on,
I mean,
so
I get
that's
it.
what I'm saying.
I'm just playing
Hmm.
devil's advocate because I have to. Like, I'm not making any accusations to say that you've done anything wrong. So I just want to be clear with that.
Oh, well, I'm not, and quite frankly, I'm not worried about you doing that. You know what I'm saying? But,
That's the
I think because
attitude.
I know, right? And plus I know me. But
Right.
my point is that it's easy for people to assume stuff, looking from outside, right? You get that all the time, and I'm saying my entire life, even me coming up, people was like I said back in the day, assumed I was gay because I was playing disco music on the South Side of Chicago, right? You know, now, but did those people approach me with that shit?
No.
Hell no. I heard that from my other boys. Hey man, this motherfucker's calling you gay. Motherfucker ain't coming up to you saying that shit to you. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I got it.
So.
So let me ask you this now.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what we hear right now and what R. Kelly is going through, how do you feel about his current situation? And do you feel if he's guilty or innocent?
Oh wow. So I'm not. First of all, this ongoing case, and quite frankly, I'm not going to comment too much more on this because most people have already made up their mind when it comes to him one way or the other. You feel me?
Right.
And so, um, and quite frankly, nothing that I can say is going to change either side's opinion. You
Right.
feel me? And so, and I don't believe in wasting my time. That's for damn sure. So I think that, at this point, we'll see it play out, and go from there. It's funny, to this day, I still have talks with people about, did OJ do it or not? Do you think OJ did it or not? I mean, there's still people who believe that he did kill her, and there's still people who believe that he didn't kill her. And at the end of the day, bro, only God knows. You know what I'm saying?
What do you believe?
Hmm?
What do
About
you?
OJ?
Yeah.
About OJ, I think that okay, I'll give you. I'll give you. I mean, what do I think about OJ? I think if he didn't kill her, he know who did.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay.
I think that this is what I do know. I know OJ wasn't a serial killer,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So he didn't have. If he did it, he didn't have experience in it, right?
Okay.
And to kill two people, and I mean, and that's the other part. People really, don't do their homework when it comes to finding out things that
I
being
agree. I agree.
detailed, and but that particular case, obviously, it was so big and so huge, But I did read that the person who killed her literally took the time to saw the bone down to the core,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And so I'm thinking to myself, someone who killed two people, sawing the bone down the core. And I worked at a hospital for like 7 years, and I understand DNA and blood, right?
Right.
And that's a whole. I mean, they were both stabbed over 40 times. I'm like, that's a whole lot of blood, a whole lot of evidence, a whole lot of DNA
Yeah.
to disappear. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like they're professional killers. I mean, killers who do it. That's what they do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Who clean up the blood and do it the best they can, and they still get caught, right?
Right.
And so for OJ to to be that brilliant at killing, I honestly don't see that, right?
Right.
I do think, but I do think, and again, this is speculation. I could be dead wrong, but I do think he probably was part of it though.
Okay. Well, with all,
And I could be dead wrong, but see, I hate saying that because I could be dead wrong about that, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's your
And
opinion, though. You have a right to
but
your
it's a
opinion.
speculation. Yeah, I guess so. But honestly, I don't like to give opinions on things like that I don't have a fucking clue about. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because I wasn't there. No one has a clue unless you're there. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
so, I quite frankly think it's too much of that. In the world when it comes to people. But I tell you what, if I get to the Almighty, baby, I'm sure gonna ask him what's up with a whole bunch of shit. Who shot Kennedy and all that shit.
Hey, but you know what?
So
Listen, now I'm gonna hit you with the 1-2 punch. Here's the second part. In all
yeah.
fairness to OJ, let's ask that same question and apply it to R. Kelly. And I think, in all fairness, if you gave one to OJ, give one to Kelly. Do you think he's guilty?
Well, again, I think that uh, I can't because, and this might you would think I would be more in tune with what's going on in his case, but I'm not, right?
Okay.
Um, so I haven't been following up. Look, OJ has been movies made and shit. You can watch Netflix. You can, it's been years. You had time to review things and look at the case. I haven't done that, and so it wouldn't be fair at all, one way or the other, me giving an opinion because, quite frankly, I've been dealing with life situations, going through a pandemic. I got bigger shit, bro, honestly, that I'm personally dealing with,
I get it.
sickness in my family. And so,
I get it.
I'm just not going to do that, bro.
But you know what? I respect it, and I'm gonna keep my word. I told you
Hmm.
if you did not want to answer question, if you didn't want to answer a question and you
Hmm.
didn't feel comfortable not to, so I'm going to respect that.
Yeah.
But let me go. Let's move on from that. Let me do this though. Give me a story, an interaction between you and say R. Kelly, something that's memorable. It's not negative or anything to down anybody. Just with all the relationships that you've had, I'm sure you have memorable times with each one. So I'd like to hear a memorable story of R. Kelly, if you have one.
Hmm. Okay, I was in this this producer named Lil Ronnie. I heard this song called. He sent me a song, and he had made it for a group, and I heard it, and I was like, "Wow, that's a great song." And I said, I got two artists on Jive Records, um, one being R.Kelly, the other one being Usher. I said, I could hear them both kind of like doing this record, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy in New York who would come by, and so we would always talk about that. And he actually said the same thing, right? I'm like, damn, I was thinking the same shit, right? And so I said, you know what I mean? So I got the song to R. Kelly, and I flew back to Chicago, let him hear it, and he was like, yeah, man, that's that's a cut. He said, who you think about doing it? I said, I'm thinking about Usher doing it. He's like, you think Usher do it? I said, hey, ain't all I can do is ask. And so um, he said, okay. But the way it was written for a group. I said, well, you're gonna have to write, another verse. You have to do not only your verse, you have to write an Usher verse. And he's like, that's not a problem. And so he said, see if Usher do it, I'll do that. And so then I had to fly to Atlanta and talk to Usher, right? To see if he would do that, if he would get on the record, and so I went to Atlanta and agreed to do that. And I mean, he agreed to do it. And so ended up that song was called Same Girl. And so
Yeah, I
they
remember
ended up
that.
doing it. Yeah. And so there you go.
So
So that was pretty cool.
yeah, I think that was a dope concept as well. I didn't know
Mm.
that you worked with Usher. What is Usher like?
Um, and again, it's funny because everyone we're talking about, you know, has had issues. Like you said, Charlie has had issues. Brittany has had issues. Usher has had his share.
Yeah, he
R.
has.
Kelly's had his share, and so none of these artists, again, different people within the music industry work with them all, but they don't know after they leave them what goes on. You feel me?
Right, got it.
And the great example, right? So, but anyway, what's Usher? I mean, Usher was cool. Usher was he was funny. He likes to play basketball. Like I didn't know that about Usher, and he's really into his art and just a super talented artist.
Right.
And so that's what I got from him.
Let me ask you, who is name your top if you can. Give me your top five in R&B, based on people you've either worked with yourself or people from the past and people of today. Who's your top five?
In R&B.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I think we also had this discussion. I am a house music guy, bro. Right.
Good
And
answer.
so if you asked me to do the top five in house music, I could do that.
I'm gonna
But
get there.
R&B, that's a tough one because and I'm an older guy, right? And so it's gonna be old people. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
that's fine. Who are they?
So you know, Luther Vandross, Aretha
One,
Franklin,
two.
and this in no order, by the way.
Okay,
Gladys Knight,
three,
um, Al Green,
four.
and uh, so many. I might have to say Sam Cooke.
Okay. Now let's go to house music. And let me just say, let me give you my disclaimer about house music. You are right
Hmm.
when it comes to house music because there was a perception of house music being an alternative type of a music, which
Hmm.
translates to what it actually means it was for gay people, especially in New York where I come from. But I remember that stigma was broke. And see if you remember these guys. Because I'm going to ask you your top five in that. But it was Girl Out House Shoe. Say what? Girl Out House Shoe. You in my hut now. Remember that?
Hmm.
Who was it by?
Jungle Brothers.
Exactly. Do you consider
Hmm.
that like commercial house music, or is that what rap house music, or is it that the authentic house music to use, especially because you're one of the creators of it?
Mm, For me, it wasn't like straight ahead house music, you know.
Okay.
It was kind of like hip house.
Okay.
So I kind of looked at that like I would look at Mr. Lee, Get Busy, or Fast Eddie, records like that.
Okay. So give me your top five in house music.
Oh wow, I mean, I had to start with "Move Your Body," Marshall Jefferson,
Okay. One,
and wow, "Move Your Body," "Your Love," Jamie Principle.
two,
Um, Music is the Key, Steve Silk Hurley.
three,
Um, Godfather of the House, Chippy,
four,
Godfather. I used to love her. House music. Uh, Five. Wow. I can't turn around.
okay, that's five. You know what? Let me
Yeah.
get away from the music for a minute and talk about your
Mhm.
hometown. I mean, man, Chicago is a hell of a place. I'm New
Mhm.
York, so I'm gonna always go for New York. I'm not disrespecting Chicago. I have a son from Chicago, but let's
You ever
talk
what?
a son from Chicago. My baby son is
Okay.
resides in Chicago. Uh,
Got you.
but Chicago is a hard city, man. Tell me what's going on with the crime and all of the stuff. In your opinion, what is the problem in Chicago, and why aren't there people who really get on in the music game from Chicago?
Well, okay. So, okay, now we back to listening to whisperers and rumors and stuff like that, and I'm trying to break this down for you, right?
All right, break it down.
So, so if you put in the top 20 most dangerous cities
Okay,
and you Google that, right?
right.
Chicago won't even come up, bro.
Okay,
Won't even come up, right? And we're talking per capita, right?
okay.
And so why is it that the crime has been focused on Chicago, right? Like it has, right?
Right,
Because there's a reason for it, right?
right,
And make no mistake, Chicago got a lot of crime now, right?
right.
But it's a big city. It's like Metro Chicago is 8, 9 million people. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
So um, there is crime, just like in any big city. Though, there's crime in New York, there's crime in L.A. Is but per capita wise, everybody knows the crime cities have been like Detroit and St. Louis and New Orleans, and those per capita are the what always are top in the most dangerous cities list.
right.
So why has Chicago been pointed out? And quite frankly, there have been years where Chicago crime was way worse than it is at certain points. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
So it, I'm gonna tell you, right? It all started when Obama got elected, bro. Right? So they want the Republicans wanted to embarrass him because he won, and they were upset that black man won this race, right?
okay,
And say because he's from Chicago, they want to embarrass him being from that city, and so constantly Fox News started with Fox News constantly pointing out crime in Chicago. Well, guess what? It was crime happening in Atlanta. It was crime happening in Flint, Michigan. It was crime happening in Miami. It was crime happening, and these cities have more crime than Chicago per
okay.
capita, right?
All right.
And to this day, get your Google on. You Google while you're talking to me. You put in top 20. Let me know when you come to Chicago, right? That's
Okay.
being statistically more crime. But if you ask anybody in this country, which is the city that got most crime, everybody gonna say Chicago
Right.
because the Republicans had an agenda. They focused in on the agenda, and they got what they fake news, and they pounded it into American culture about Chicago, and that's the truth, bro. Period.
Wow.
That's the truth.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. What I will say is this: Chicago
Mm-hmm.
is dangerous as fuck. Like bottom
Mm-hmm.
line, Like, statistically speaking, you might be right. I've printed some
Hmm.
of the statistics and the stats in my magazine, and I think like
Hmm.
Springfield, Illinois is like when you get, by the time you get to Illinois, Springfield.
Well, you know
ha-
what they say, numbers don't lie, people do.
Yeah, I
But
do.
continue.
I get it. I get it. But like
Right.
Springfield is like number 11 or number 12 when you get to
Hmm.
Illinois. And there are other cities
Right.
that you have named are, but the magnitude of the violence in Chicago is unlike any other because you can just get shot for sitting in your car. Like you can be,
Oh, look, bro, they just shot somebody on Melrose Avenue. You didn't even hear about it.
wow,
At Shoe Palace
wow,
on Melrose in L.A.
wow,
Came out and shot. You ain't even hear about it on the news, bro, unless you're in L.A.
wow,
Chicago, whatever happens in Chicago is national news, and that's my point to you, brother.
wow.
Don't get fooled by what they doing. Okay, I'm not. How you say you got to be woke?
Right.
Wake up, okay? Because it's crime all over this country. Now, is there a crime surge all over this country? Absolutely. I'm not sure if the pandemic is part of that or what the reason is. Obviously, we have rioting and looting these past, couple years as well. I'm sure that spiked up, the crime statistics and things like that. But make no mistake, anything that happened in Chicago is highlighted nationally. Nowhere else is it done like that.
Yeah.
So understand that part,
I mean, I
you
get
know.
it. But okay, let's take away the statistics and let's talk just about people. Young black men. What do you think the problem is with young black men to make them be so in love with crime? As far as the shootings and the robberies, the carjackings, what kind of mentality do you think that is? And is it fixable?
Oh wow, that's a bro. We going into this conversation? I mean, uh, I,
We don't.
I mean, I have to be. Hmm, I mean, it goes back. It goes back to. It goes back to systemic racism, bro.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it really does. How are we going to jump from that into what's going on when black folks are constantly being not afforded the opportunities that others are, and you know, um, you have people who can't eat, can't feed their families, can't feed their children, and puts them in horrible predicaments. Now, of course, there's just spontaneous crime as well, which of course all crime is horrendous. But make no mistake, we black people specifically have been put almost like a trap, and we have to be fair. If we're not fair with our own people, you know then what are we doing, right? And so we don't have the jobs, we don't have the opportunities, people are poor, people are starving, we're going through a pandemic, it's a horrible time. And then what's going on in Chicago with the police, they're not working for the mayor. Everybody knows it because she's a black woman. Again, with the systemic racism, and sexism and everything else that comes with it. So it's a culmination of a lot, bro. It's a culmination of a lot, and I think that I mean, we this conversation would go on for another 3 hours to
I
really
get it.
break stuff down,
I get it.
But it's not as easy. It's not as simple as people make it. Let me just put it that way.
I mean, I get it. I think I asked you that question simply because you're a Chicago resident, uh,
Hmm.
and you kind of know your people. Like I can answer certain questions about New York people and
Yeah.
what guys do because
Well, and let me say this though.
okay.
Again, I was gone for damn near 18, 19 years, and Chicago changed. Like when I got back, it
Hmm.
wasn't the same Chicago when I left.
Wow,
You see what I'm saying? So it changed a whole lot.
wow,
So even though I'm a Chicago resident, if you ain't here, you don't know what's going on.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And but when you come back, you can surely see.
Yeah.
Shit ain't the same.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like that.
So,
It's like that for me in New York. Like I'm in between states all the time, and I know I
hmm
left one time and I stayed gone because my magazine is a quarterly. We come out every 3 months, so I remember
yeah,
leaving one time and then going back home within the 3 month period, and all of a sudden, bam, is Bloods and Crips, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like
hmm
we never had gangbangers. Like that was just something that New Yorkers didn't do. Now it's
hmm
dominated with that. So
really,
yeah, yeah,
wow,
man,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's
And
like
I was just talking to some people in LA. They said LA is getting out of control. Yeah. I was like, really, LA? They're like, yeah, man, it's crazy, And that's how I know about the shooting on Melrose. I'm like, for real? Right? Because of course I didn't hear it on the news.
yeah,
Believe me, if that would have been in Chicago, that'd been all over the damn news, right?
yeah.
But but yeah, so yeah, man, it's difficult times, it's strange times. But to make no mistake, 3 years of being in a pandemic is causing some strange reactions as well.
Yeah,
We're in unprecedented times, brother.
yeah.
You
I
feel me?
agree. I
And so
def
you have to acknowledge that part as well.
I definitely agree. So tell me,
You know?
what is Wayne Williams doing today?
Today, I have an R&B and pop. I have two artists, R&B, one R&B and world kind of world music, and another one, a girl who's R&B slash pop. And so I'm developing those artists. Um, what else? I'm still DJing. I put on a festival once a year with my crew. Um, just just worked on a documentary about the picnic event that I do that's being shown in film festivals currently. Um, what else? I work with a label called Tease Box and Mirror Bomb, and do dance. That's Terry Hunter's label, and I do A&R for that label. And so just keeping myself busy, brother. Grinding.
I mean, that's the best thing to do. Let me ask you: how easy or how hard would it be? Like, if a brother's trying to get a record deal or you're making songs or whatever, would that person bring the song to you? And how easy or how hard is it for a person to actually get signed?
Oh shit. Well, now I think the game has changed totally. You don't have to get signed. You can just do your own thing. You got distribution companies out here all over the place who will give you the money. And I think it's more now. Artists have to do the work themselves. And I mean, you can still, if you want to, go to the major labels, whatever. But for the most part, you know, because of the internet and streaming, you can do the work for yourself. And so I think that's going to be a big part of going forward. You know, in the future when it comes to artists.
So you're saying that you don't necessarily need a major for you to get on.
Oh no, that day's been gone. Mm-mm,
So how
that day.
does that hurt what you do?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Well, first of all, I'm with a house music label, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's totally different, and so it's a dance label, a house music label, but so no, it has no effect on
On you.
what I do, and we're an independent label as well, So
Let me
um,
ask you my last question. Uh, you were made famous. You have one of the rarest types of fame, and this goes back to R. Kelly because he mentioned you in a song. Uh,
mhm.
what's the song?
Step in the name of love.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, did that change anything for you? Did your stock go up? Did your prices from yesterday?
Well, it's funny, right? He made that song. I was literally in a hospital,
Wow.
right? Northwestern Hospital.
For what?
And so I had no idea. I'm trying to think what happened to me. I had, wow, I forgot what it was, but it was some deep shit. Let me tell you, I was in there for a while. I was in there for like, I'd say 2 months.
Wow.
And, yeah, what was I in there for? I think it was I forget what it was. I don't want to just say nothing, but it was obviously it was a while ago. But I remember I was in the hospital, and then when I got out the hospital, um, um, I took some time off, and then I came back to Chicago and went in the studio and heard that record, and I was like, you know, yeah, I didn't think much. I mean, I was shocked, right? Like he put my name in it, he put George Daniels' name in it, a couple other people's name in it, his guitarist, Donnie. But as a DJ, it did because you know I started getting all these calls to do stepper parties, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm a house music DJ, right? Yeah,
Right.
But I had turned. Uh, R.Kelly wanted to do stepping records, right? And so I hooked him up with this DJ who does stepping music named Sam Chapman out of Chicago, and so for me turning him on to this guy who obviously knows his music. That's what he does is stepping music, right?
Hmm.
And so I guess I honestly couldn't tell you why he added my name to that record, but it did change because I started getting all these stepping from these different cities around the country to do stepping parties, and I had to tell them, bro, I'm a house music DJ,
Right.
right? Oh man, I was like, because they was paying good money. I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I know stepping music, but I'm not a stepping DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I got it.
You know, I can play. I can give you like maybe 30 minutes of it, and I have to move on.
Right. Hey, Wayne, listen, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your transparency, and I appreciate you for being on my show, man. Like, how can people get in contact with you if they'd like to? Use social media or whatever.
I think that let me see. Well, yeah, I'm on social. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
As what are you on there as?
DJ Wayne Williams.
Okay, DJ Wayne Williams.
Yeah,
At okay, all right.
Instagram. Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I mean, it's funny. We were just talking about that too. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with
No, you're
because
not. No, you're not. Because I went through. You know, I
hey,
would keep this off the record, but I'm not. You're not. Because Chicago's funny, and we have a mutual friend, and she was like, Shabazz, you can find him on social media, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yo, you my dog. She like my dog, and she was like, well, I'm gonna call him, and I text him, and she didn't do it. She may have forgotten, but you know me, I'm relentless, man. I'm a New York nigga,
mhm,
like so. For me, it was like, you know what? I learned one thing being in Chicago. uh One of my partners, he's a ride down on him type of dude. Like if he want to see something or know something, he ain't on the phone. He gonna ride if whether it's beef or it's no beef, he gonna ride right up on you. So I kind of adapted that,
mhm,
and I was like,
mhm.
I'm going to find this nigga. That's what I
Well,
did.
see, that's why I'm gonna challenge you on that because that's why I say I'm very easy because I'm in the public eye. I'm constantly DJing different places all over the city. So honestly, if you really trying to find me, it ain't hard to do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There are many
If you
places
if you're
you
from
can
this
find
city,
me.
if you're from this city, but like I told you when we talked
Well, no,
before,
no, not if you just from the city. Like, no, you're not getting off the hook with that either. So if you trying to find somebody, if you're really trying to find somebody, right, or talk to somebody,
uh huh,
right, especially somebody like me, it's not like I'll give you an example. If you're trying to talk to Clyde Davis,
yeah,
okay, I give you that excuse, right,
right,
right, right, because Clyde, you ain't gonna, he ain't promoting where he gonna be
right,
24/24.
right.
I do.
I got it. You're
Ain't
right.
no excuse with me, buddy.
But I mean,
You
yo,
see what
you
I'm
know
saying?
what? Where I found you at, you were surprised. Be honest now. I never been there.
Hmm.
I never been on
Right.
that side of town. I never been to that
Hey,
strip.
if there's a hot producer that I'm trying to find a hook up with one of my artists, you think that stopped me?
Of course
Come
not.
on, man.
We hustlers
No,
though.
you go exactly. I'm gonna find them a
Exactly.
songwriter, hot songwriter. I hear a hot artist that I like. I'm gonna find them, Brian. Please. But again, if you're trying to find uh, um, Big John, you know, it's gonna be a little tougher to find Wayne Williams. You
Yo,
see what I'm saying?
yeah, I know Big John too. If we talking about the same Big John, but wait a minute now.
Yes.
There were two Big
Mhm.
Johns because there's one Big John that was the bus driver for Cash Money, and didn't he pass?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you talking about Big John, like literally the
I'm
big.
talking about, yeah, in L.A. Big John,
Oh no, I don't know that one.
publishing Big John.
No, no, no.
Right.
There was a Big John with Cash Money. He was actually
Right.
on tour with me, and R.Kelly and Jay-Z for the Best of Both Worlds tour. But then he went on
Right.
to be with Cash Money, and he passed from a heart attack because he was literally like Big Pun
If you,
size.
if, sure, if you're trying to find Kanye a chance to
Yeah,
rapper,
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay.
I
You
get
see
it.
what I'm saying?
I get it.
You trying to find Wayne Will stop it.
I
You
get
just
it.
lazy motherfucker. You can't find me.
I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying, bro.
and I get it. But obviously,
Yeah,
I ain't a lazy motherfucker because I found your ass, didn't I?
exactly.
All right,
There
then.
you go.
Hey, man. Listen, Wayne, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being on the show. Anything
Mm.
you want to say in parting?
That has been a tough year for everybody, and the only way we're gonna get back is start loving each other more, forgiving each other more, and moving on. Because hate will destroy us, and we have to start embracing and loving people. That's it. That's all.
Hey, man. Thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
All right, my brother.
All right.